Today, 1st December, market opens with a gap, but unfortunately was not able to hold the gain, eventually retraced up 2.24 point at 3293 with average volume. Now this is an attempt at the resistance of 3300, is now closing just slightly below that, so this is our immediate resistance. Now we do also have a resistance at this gap here, and this happens to be at 3338. Immediate support is at this pivot low here, which is at 3221. All right, and likewise this gap here provides some kind of support, which is at 3180. By and large, 1326 are rising, so this is generally considered as strong, but we got to understand the context. It is approaching very obvious resistance, and this is a second attempt in recent days, and was not able to hold the gain. So the odds of a pullback from here is quite high. Now market has been running very well, so certainly it will need a breather before it stage further upward move. Now let's take a look at the US market. This is Nasdaq on the daily charts. Notice the 1326 is still generally quite flat. On the weekly charts, this is 40 weeks. Again, 40 weeks is downward pointing, so generally bearish. It's just a short term, we have a counter trend. But this counter trend here is actually considered weak. If you compare to S&P 500, this is S&P 500. You notice actually it's managed to actually close slightly above the 40 weeks. But whatever the case may be, it's important to actually see whether it can stage further upward move. 40 weeks is generally pointing. It will be practical to actually look at the 1326 week moving averages. And if you notice actually over here we do have a conversion between these two lines, so that's indicate a losing momentum on the downside. But again, unless it stage a double reversal here, a double bottom reversal, which is quite a distance away, otherwise it may continue its downward move. At this point in time, we don't have any evidence to suggest that it's going to actually move up. Now if you take a look at Dow Jones Industrial, which represent only 30 stocks, is obviously much stronger. All right, if you notice, actually it does run up, but this is not a broad representations. So Nasdaq actually remained weak. Now, if you were to take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield, which have weakened quite significantly. No, notice over here we have very strong move, and that's the reason why we experience market weakness. And over here we have a trend line break with a wide range bar, and stock was actually, or rather the yield was actually generally trading sideways. Again, take a look at the 1326 on the daily charts, 1326 days rather. It's actually pointing downwards, so there could be some downside, further downside. On the longer term, on the weekly charts, it's just a retracement like what we had before, and it may well move up subsequently because the long-term trend is very much still intact and it's actually rising. Now, of course, further weakness in the 10-year yields is generally positive for the equity market. Let's take a look at some of the stocks we have been discussing. First, IFAS, which is the best performer recent week. So over here we have a reversal. This is your double bottom reversal. And just at the neckline itself, there is a pullback, and this is a big dipper breakout, a break with a gap as well. And follow through, over here we have a small dipper, and today it has actually a breakout and closing at its high. This is a wide range bar. This is perhaps the longest of all the other bars, quite similar to this, but I think probably slightly longer because the gap is actually part of that as well. Daylight is actually quite huge, so if you have these positions, you need to actually monitor the position closely. Because stock never run in one line, and usually after very aggressive runs, it's likely to retrace or consolidate. So if this position, you just have to actually watch closely. We can take a look at the weekly charts to actually understand the long-term directions. So this is the 1326 week SMA. Notice actually it converged, loses momentum. This is the reversal patterns, and it actually break on the upside. And we usually do expect it a test of this neckline. So again, it's important to just wait for the stock to present itself. Now, I recently discussed Food Empire. This is a less discussed stocks, but managed to actually stage a reversal with a gap here. And here we have a very nice break on the upside. This is a small dip of contractions, and we have a small dipper. Trade an inside bar today with low volume. Look for further pullback. If you can trade sideways closer to daylight, that will be good. Look for eventually break above the high here of 675. Again, a less discussed stocks. This is LS to Asia, but volume pick up very significantly over here. And you can see the trust pattern, and right now there's a retracement attempting to close out a daylight. This is a small dipper setup. Look, break above the high here of 26 cents. Now, if you take this position, just be very careful because there is lack of institution sponsorship. Silver Lake, which I discussed, I think the last two videos, this stock actually staged a reversal. Now remember, this stock is not a high beta stock, so it tends to actually move much lower. Here we have a very nice break, follow through, and this is a contraction break. And today, trade an inside bar. Notice extremely low volume. Look for a decisive break above the high of 38 cents. Yangzijiang. This stock has been trending, but you have what you call big swing on the downside as well. Today, it actually opened with a gap, but unfortunately cannot hold, and it retraced. Slight increase in volume. Look for a pullback here, and look for eventually take up this high here of 145. Now, just remember that this has been trending for quite some time, so fatigue may actually set in. So even if you have a break, it's more likely a hit and run trade. Sembcorp Industry. Now, this stocks managed to break convincingly with a wide range bar, but unfortunately the follow through appeared to be quite feeble. Here we have an upward move followed a retracement and a break on the upside, but today actually reject the high, and perhaps this is attributed to this resistance level here. This was also tested previously here. So whatever the case, look for a pullback here and look for eventually break above this high here of 329. Sembcorp Marine mentioned that this is a very nice built up, and it actually broke up yesterday. Notice actually this break here and increase in volume. Today follow through with the opening gap, which is good, and close at its high. Now, just take note of this gap here. This gap here is a form of resistance about 16 cents. So if you have missed this breakout, look for pullback and look for a new setup.